I have a rendezvous with death. We'll preserve the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
No fear. No political correctness. No wokeism. You're listening to Underground USA.
Let's talk about something that has been brewing for quite some time, but has been incredibly overlooked. In an era where the West sleepwalks towards its own undoing, it's high time we peel back the veneer of progressive idealism and spiritual piety to reveal the grotesque underbelly of two ideologies that have poisoned the 20th century and now conspire to devour the 21st. Marxism and Islamism, those seductive sirens of collectivist utopia and divine absolutism, aren't distant cousins. They're identical twins, suckled on the same venomous teat of authoritarianism and totalitarianism. Both promise paradise on earth, or in the afterlife for the theocratic flavor, but deliver only chains, gulags, and graveyards. To ignore their eerie parallels is not just naive, it's suicidal. Let's dissect this unholy symbiosis, layer by bloody layer, and arm ourselves with the unflinching truth before it's too late. At their core, both ideologies are rotten with the delusion of infallibility, a God complex that brooks no contradiction. Marxism, that bastard child of Hegelian dialectics and proletarian envy, posits history as an inexorable march towards communist bliss, where the vanguard party, self-appointed shepherds of the masses, holds the divine right to purge dissenters. Karl Marx himself, in his fevered scribblings, envisioned a classless society forged in the fires of revolution. But what emerged was the iron fist of Lenin and Stalin, who understood that utopia demands uniformity. Dissent, a counter-revolutionary sin, punishable by Siberian exile or a bullet to the brain. Fast forward to Mao's Cultural Revolution, where millions were re-educated through terror, their thoughts dissected like lab rats to ensure alignment with the party line. Islamism, the politicized version of a faith that once sparked enlightenment, mirrors this with chilling precision. Drawing from the Quran's unyielding commands and Muhammad's Medina playbook, where opposition meant exile or execution, modern Islamists, like the Muslim Brotherhood's Sayyid Khatib, recast jihad as a total societal overhaul. Sharia isn't mere law, it's a totalitarian blueprint infiltrating every crevice of life, from diet to doctrine. Apostasy? Blasphemy? These are Marxism's bourgeois deviations, rebranded as kuffar, warranting fatwas, floggings, or beheadings. Iran's ayatollahs, those smirking mullahs in saffron robes, enforce this with the same zeal as Soviet commissars, jailing poets for insulting Islam while their youth rot in Evian prison's digital panopticon. Both systems worship the collective over the soul, the Ummah for the Islamists, the proletariat for Marxists. Individual rights? Laughable relics of bourgeoisie decadence to be trampled under the boot of greater good. Economically, their authoritarian strangleholds are Frankenstein's monsters, stitched from control and coercion. Marxism's central planning, those 5-year mirages of abundance, starved Ukraine in the Holodomor and choked China's Great Leap Forward into a famine that devoured 45 million lives. Private property is the opiate of the exploiters, seized by the state to liberate the workers, who end up serfs on collective farms. Islamism, no less rapacious, invokes zakat and usury bans not for charity, but to funnel wealth into clerical and jihadist coffers. The Saudi Wahhabism funds madrasas that churn out suicide bombers, while Hamas's Gaza fiefdom diverts aid into tunnel-building ant farms of terror. Both disdain free markets as satanic temptations. Marxism decries capitalism's alienation. Islamism rails against riba-fueled decadence. The result? Stagnant economies where innovation withers under fat, bureaucratic thumbs and the masses subsist on propaganda rations of resentment. And propaganda, the lifeblood of these leviathans. Both wield narrative as a weapon sharper than any scimitar or sickle. Marxist regimes mastered the art with Pravda's fairy tales and Hollywood's unwitting echoes in progressive agitprop, rewriting history to Saint Stalin while airbrushing Trotsky from photos. Islamism counters with Dawa's honeyed lies and Al Jazeera's slick spins, portraying burqa-clad oppression as empowerment and suicide bombings as resistance. Taqiyya, deceptive piety, dovetails with Marxist united fronts, where Islamists cozy up to Western leftists, feigning victimhood to mask their supremacist snarls. Schools in both spheres indoctrinate from cradle to caliphate. Soviet youth pledged allegiance to Lenin, while Islamist hafezes memorize shuras that glorify conquest. A virus to be vaccinated against with mindless recitations and reified rage. Their totalitarian tentacles extend to the family, the arts, even the bedroom. Nothing escapes the gaze of the great leader or the all-seeing Allah as enforced by man. Marxism's new socialist man demanded gender quotas that masked the erasure of womanhood, as seen in East Germany's Stasi-monitored nurseries. Islamism's horror codes castrate critics and stone adulteresses, and women who bear that label because they couldn't find 4 male witnesses to a rape to prove they were raped, enforcing hijab as a uniform of submission. Both glorify martyrdom, the red flag over martyrs' graves, the green banner over Shahid's paradise. Violence isn't aberration, it's sacrament. From the Khmer Rouge's killing fields to ISIS's Yazidi slave markets, the body count screams shared DNA of dehumanization. Yet for all their mirrored monstrosities, the true horror unfolds in their coalescence, a red-green hydra slithering toward western gates. Picture it, Antifa militants chanting "From the river to the sea," alongside Hamas apologists at Campus Quad insurrections. Chomskyistas platforming Hezbollah's hacks. Western academics peddling decolonization that launders Islamist theocracy as anti-imperialism. This isn't coincidence. It's convergence. Marxism's anti-capitalist ire finds a zealous bedfellow in Islamism's anti-Western jihad, united against the Enlightenment's bastard errors: liberal democracy, representative government, freedom, and individualism. They've infiltrated NGOs, unions, and Silicon Valley echo chambers where inclusivity means silencing Islamophobia critiques while excusing Marxist struggles. Europe's no-go zones and America's DEI dogmas are canaries in the coal mine, precursors to Sharia Soviets. We must awaken from this assault, not with hand-wringing platitudes, but with a counter-revolution of clarity. Realize first that these aren't religions or philosophies deserving kid gloves. They're ideologies of conquest, as predatory as Nazism ever was. To confront them, we must capture the narrative, flood discourse with unvarnished history, show the Holodomor reels beside beheading videos, Juxtapose gulag memoirs with Rushdie fatwas. Educate the ignorant, those TikTok-addled millennials and Zoomer activists who've swallowed the oppressor-oppressed binary whole. Arm them with books like Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago and Ibn Warraq's Why I Am Not a Muslim. Not to hate, but to liberate minds from disingenuous utopian traps. This is existential. The West's fortress, built on reason, rights, and irreverence, crumbles if we let these twins entwine. Rise, then. Debate fiercely. Vote vigilantly. Build alliances of the unbowed. For in naming the beast, we starve it. In enlightening the duped, we dismantle it. The hour is late, but the pen and the truth remains mightier than the scythes and the swords. Let us wield them without mercy. When we come back, our segment on America's Third Watch, broadcast nationally from our flagship station, WGUL AM 860 and FM 93.7 in Tampa, Florida.
You're listening to Underground USA.